Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Shannon and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I plan on reading in May. Not gonna lie to you guys, I have really struggled to pick out a TBR this month. I feel like I'm getting a little bit slumpy again, which is not great, but that is mainly because I've started my new teaching job and I have less and less time for reading. So I have tried to include a mix of different genres in this stack, just to keep me motivated to read and to keep my interest. There are some books here that I have to read, there are some that I just want to read in order to carry on a series and things like that. And even though it may be a little bit ambitious, I definitely feel like I can get through all of these. Saying that though, if I do fancy a mood read, if I do want to put a book down and read something else, I of course will. I'm not going to force myself to read these books. That is definitely the worst thing to do when you're feeling slumpy, so this TBR is definitely going to be a little flexible. However, I would like to get to all of these books, and as I mentioned, some of them I have to read. So saying that, I will stop rambling on here and let's just dive into the books I plan on reading. First up, we have a manga, and this is the Promise Neverland by Kayu Shirai, and the artwork in this one is by Pasuka Demizu. I've read this book before, I think it was about a year ago now, maybe even longer, but I have recently bought the next few volumes in this series, and so I decided that I am probably going to binge read them, to be honest with you guys. I've been looking for the next few volumes for a really long time, since I finished the first book essentially, but they've always been out of stock. However, I was browsing on Waterstones a few weeks back. I saw that volumes 2 to 5 were in stock, and so of course I decided to purchase them, and I'm very happy to say that they've arrived and they will probably be getting read this month when I do pick up this one. I went into this first volume thinking it was going to be a sort of Peter Pan retelling just based off of the name. However, I got the shock of my life because this is nothing similar to Peter Pan. This is actually a horror manga which is set at an orphanage. So of course the kids that need to be homed come to the orphanage thinking that they're going to be cared for and adopted, and that is seemingly the case. They get tested every week, and based on their scores they are more and more likely to become adopted because they are more gifted. And as it goes, the kids do start leaving. However, one day our main character sneaks out and follows one of these children, only to find that the children don't leave to go to new homes. They are actually being experimented on and killed. Not going to say much more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but it was a very interesting first volume. I was sucked in straight away and I really do want to carry on with the rest of the volumes and see where the story goes. I do know that there are quite a few of them out now. I of course have the first 5, but I will need to catch up and purchase the rest of them. However, that is definitely being a little bit ambitious, and you'll see next week when I do my book unboxing video that I have already purchased too many books this month. So I'm not going to buy more for the time being. However, I am going to keep my eye out and see whether I can purchase some of the next few volumes soon. I can't wait to read this one. I might dedicate a day, one weekend, where I just sit down and power through all of these. I feel like that'll be the best way to retain information and to follow along in the story, so hopefully that can happen. And yeah, I'm very excited to dive into this one. It's a great starting point if you want to get into manga, and even though it's a horror, I wouldn't say it's the scariest thing ever. I was able to read it, and you guys know I'm a scaredy cat, so if that's anything to go by and you think that you would enjoy this one, I would highly recommend it. And of course, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this one, you can click the subscribe button and check out my weekly reading vlogs, because I will definitely be featuring these in one of those, and you definitely won't want to miss my thoughts and reactions to it. Next up, we have The Big Four by Agatha Christie. This is the next book I need to read in the Poirot Murder Mystery series. We are up to book 5 now, I believe, and I have definitely been slacking with these past few months, you guys. My goal is to read one of these a month at least. However, I have fallen behind. I have just read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd for a themed murder mystery reading vlog that I'm doing, and I really did enjoy it. Diving back into an Agatha Christie novel just reminds me how much I do love reading them, and so I'm really going to try and prioritize this one this month. To be honest, I don't really know too much about it, so I am going to read you the synopsis. It says, framed in the doorway of Poirot's bedroom stood an uninvited guest, coated from head to foot in dust. The man's gaunt face stared for a moment, then he swayed and fell. Who was he? Was he suffering from shock or just exhaustion? Above all, what was the significance of the figure 4 scribbled over and over again on a sheet of paper? Poirot finds himself plunged into into a world of international intrigue, risking his life to uncover the truth about number 4. That definitely sounds interesting. It sounds quite high stakes actually, so I'll be interested to see what is actually going on in this book, because I definitely feel like the vibes are going to be a bit different to the cozy small town murder mysteries that we've had previously. I have had a look on Scribd. The audiobook is on there as well. It's not narrated by Hugh Fraser though, so I'm going to give it a go and see whether I enjoy it or not. If not, I will sit down and read this physically. It's not a problem. It's a very short book, so I definitely feel like I will fly through it. But I do love listening to the audiobooks for these, especially on my commute to and from work. So if I do enjoy the audiobook, I will definitely be listening to the story rather than reading it. But either way, this is going to get read this month. I'm very excited to get to it and to complete another book in the Hercule Poirot murder mysteries. Next up we have Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo, which was definitely an impulse book for me in this TBR. I saw it there and just decided, you know what, I've had it for a while now. I really enjoyed To Kill a Kingdom, which was Alexandra Christo's first book. I've met the author before and have really enjoyed talking to her, and so I've decided to pick this one up to read this month. Now, it does say return to the world of TikTok sensation To Kill a Kingdom, but I believe that this book is separate to that first book, at least I hope anyway, because there's no way I remember what went on in the first book. I read it about 3 years ago, I want to say, maybe even longer, and because I read so much, of course, after a while I tend to forget key information in stories and things like that, so hopefully it's not. On the back it just says, a cursed witch, a reckless soldier, an immortal king, could you outrun fate? This is actually a proof copy. It was sent to me after the release date of this book, which is why I didn't read it before it came out, but I honestly can't find a synopsis on here, so that is all I can tell you, I'm afraid. I think that will be the best thing for me though, because I do tend to enjoy books more if I can dive in without really knowing anything. Ooh, okay, I've just seen a little quote by people praising this book, and one of them says, "This is Rapunzel glistening with dark magic galore," which is a quote by Chloe Gong. So if this is a Rapunzel telling, I am absolutely sold. I love the story of Rapunzel. I feel like it's so dark, but it's been made into a nice story from the Disney version, so I will be excited to see how this tackles it, and yeah, I'm really glad that I've actually decided to put this on my TBR now. Next up we have this beast of a book, which is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is the second book in the First Law trilogy, which is also part of an extensive world that Joe Abercrombie has built, and I am reading these books as part of the Catch Up Book Club, which, if you don't know, is a book club hosted by Becca from Becca and the Books here on YouTube. As I mentioned, we have read the first book. I was a little bit further behind with that one, so I would really like to finish out this book this month and finish it before the live show so that I can join in and listen to everyone's thoughts. I genuinely have no idea how to describe this book to you, because in the first book there wasn't really much of a plot. It was a lot about following our three main characters, Jezal, Luther and Glockta. Jezal is a pompous fencing champion, Luther is a northern barbarian, and Glockta is an inquisitor, meaning that he is essentially a torturer. Throughout the course of the first book we see how these three characters come together, and we see that there is a lot of political unrest in this world. We have a lot of magic as well that is being forgotten about until another character who is a magi comes in and shows them that magic still very much exists. And of course I won't spoil anything, but at the end of the first book our characters now are moving forward and getting to where they need to be, which is hopefully where it's going to pick up from in this second book. I will tell you guys that this is a grimdark adult high fantasy book, so it does have a lot of violence in it. If that isn't your thing, I would definitely stray away. However, I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. Again, the first book wasn't really that intense for me because we weren't really seeing a lot of plot development happening. It was just focusing on the characters. However, now we're going to different places and that the war is creeping closer and closer. I definitely feel like those elements are going to stand out a lot more in this book, and also the rest of the books moving forward as well. I don't want to spoil myself, but it's about 570 pages, so it is a chunky one. Again, this is one that I'm going to be listening to the audiobook for. It's how I read the first book and I was having a really good time listening to it, so I definitely feel like that's the way to go with this. Saying that though, I might dedicate some time to sit down and read it physically as well, depending on how quickly I'm going through it. I always feel like if I can listen to it and read it at the same time, I do tend to retain more information and I tend to follow along with the story a bit better. So hopefully I can manage to do that. If not, I will just prioritize the audiobook, and I would like to prioritize this one and read it at the start of the month because I do want to make it to the live show. And so this is one I will probably listen to before the big four, just because it doesn't really matter if I don't read the Poirot book immediately. This one though is definitely one that I would like to keep on schedule for, because if I don't, I will fall behind and then I will just not continue on with the rest of the book. So this is definitely high priority this month. I feel like I'm gonna love it though. I had a really good experience listening to the first book, as I said, and even though a lot didn't happen, I did give it 4 stars and really enjoyed it. So I have high hopes for this one. I can't wait to read it and of course share my thoughts with you guys and hear everyone's thoughts on it as well. And even though it is a chunky book, I'm hoping I can read it quite quickly. Next up we have Frozen Tides by Morgan Rhodes. This is book 4 in the Falling Kingdom series, and it's of course the next book that I need to pick up in order to continue on with the series. And you guys were definitely expecting this to pop up in this TBR because I have been loving reading the Falling Kingdom series lately. I have flown through the first 3 books and I'm so excited to now be picking up this one. I would have liked to have read the series a lot quicker. I have been giving myself 1 book a month, but because I've been so busy and because I have wanted to make sure that I'm reading other things as well, I have been sticking to some sort of schedule with these ones, and to be honest I'm not too mad about it because it does give me a bit of space between the books to sit on my thoughts and to make me want to pick up the next book as well. So that is what I'm doing this month. I'm diving into book 4. I'm over halfway now, which is crazy, and I can't wait to see what happens in this one. So essentially this is a series that is often compared to a Game of Thrones, mainly because of the violence that happens in this. Aside from that though, they're not really that similar. In this one we follow our 4 main characters, Lucia, Cleo, Jonas and Magnus, as they are being dragged into an oncoming war. There are 2 countries in here that have been suffering whilst one country has been prospering, and so of course there has been political unrest and the poorer 2 countries have decided to take action and take over the prospering country. Because of this, our main characters do have to face some morally difficult choices that will mean that they will be aiding in this war or fighting against it. As well as that, we have a very interesting magic system in this book. The magic in this world is actually dying, and we have watchers who are immortal beings who take the form of hawks in the mortal land, and they essentially have been watching the mortals for centuries in order to find a sorceress powerful enough to awaken the kindred, which is the source of their magic. Without this magic, their world will fade and they will die, and one of these watchers does think that he has found the sorceress. So I'm not going to say more than that because I really don't want to spoil anything, but as you guys know, I'm having such an amazing time with these books. As I mentioned, I can't wait to see what happens and what these characters are going to have to face next, and so I am very excited to be reading this one this month. It will be one that will get read because, as you can tell by my excitement, I am desperate to pick it up, and of course I will let you guys know my thoughts on it in my weekly reading vlogs as well. And then the last book I have to show you guys today is Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Chen. Now I think I mentioned in one of my previous TBRs that I am trying to read 1 subscription box book per month now in order to tackle my ever-growing TBR. I am subscribed to both Fairy Loot and Illumicrate, and when I get these books I do tend to just put them on the shelves and forget about them, so I am making an effort now to prioritize them and put them on my TBRs so that I do actually sit down and read them. The choice for this month is of course this book. It's a beautiful one. I love the ombre sprayed edges, but this is one that I've owned for a while now and I've just not gotten to it, but as I read the synopsis I felt like it would be a good book for me to read this month. It sounds like it's going to be quite a fast-paced read, which is exactly what I need, and so that is essentially why this one has been chosen for me to read this month. Now I'm not going to read the whole synopsis because it's really long, so I will just read you the little snippet at the bottom. It says, a darkly enchanting fantasy debut about a morally grey witch, a cursed prince, and a prophecy that ignites their fate-twisted destinies. Perfect for fans of The Cruel Prince and Serpent and Dove. Now I loved Serpent and Dove and never carried on with the rest of the books in the series though, and The Cruel Prince is one that was okay but I didn't love, so hopefully I love this one a little bit more. I definitely should do because of the curse element to it. I do enjoy when that is a plot point. It is a YA book, so again I feel like the writing style will be a lot quicker, which is exactly what I need right now with me being so busy. So yeah, hopefully all of these elements together will be something that I love. I haven't really heard anything about this book, so I can't tell you whether people have enjoyed it or disliked it. I feel like I'm just going to dive straight in without really knowing anything, and that way hopefully I can read this one in about a week and give you guys my thoughts on it once I have read it. So there we have it, you guys. These are all of the books that I'm planning on reading in May. There are quite a few here. I normally choose about 4 or 5 books, however I have been a bit more ambitious with this one. I feel like I can manage it. We'll see whether I do by the end of the month, but I feel like it's a good stack. It's got a mix of genres, as I mentioned, which will hopefully keep me interested. They are all books that I'm excited about, which will hopefully mean that I can fly through them, and I can honestly say that I'm excited for each and every single one. If you have made it this far through into the video and would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and leave me some flower emojis down below. As you can tell by this cover, we have some beautiful flowers all over it, and flowers definitely brighten my day. So if you have made it this far through into the video but don't have anything in particular that you would like to say, please go ahead and comment that emoji now. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!